what's going on, everyone? It's Chris, and welcome to the first and probably only episode that I'll do, at least for a little while, of college football predictions. How is everyone doing today? I'm doing quite fine, and I am so excited because starting the day that this is uploaded on Friday, is the start of Championship Friday and Saturday, and just Championship weekend in general for college football. Now, it's not actually the national championship. We're going to have to wait another month for that. But this is the conference championship weekend where we decide who the conference champions are, and also the Big 12 and the Sun Belt, the only two conferences still in like regular season play, quote unquote. That they will finish their season this weekend, and it will all be concluded by Saturday. And then on Sunday, the College Football Playoff Committee will will rank the top 25 teams as they've been doing every Tuesday, and the top 4 teams will make it to the College Football Playoff, which is the logo you see on the screen. Once there, the number 1 seed and number 4 seed face each other, and then the number 2 seed and 3 seed play each other, and the winners of those games will play each other in the national championship. Those games will be part of the New Year's Six, which will include other bowl games that are just going to be so much fun to watch because these are going to be top teams in the country. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've grown to love the bowl games a little bit. At first I was like, what's the point of them? But then I'm like, alright, well, it gives teams an opportunity to keep on playing football and win themselves a stupid little potato trophy. As there actually legit is a trophy that is just a bowl of potatoes. And that's actually when they play the game at my favorite college football team, Boise State. That's their trophy, so it ain't great. Anyways, so I am so excited for bowl season and December football in general, and the NFL as well. It's so much fun, so I'm very excited. So today I want to do a kind of a prediction piece. It's gonna be tailored to chaos. And if you know me, I love chaos. Controlled chaos. Not like chaos where anyone gets hurt, and like people rampage the streets, setting things on fire, turning over cars. No, I don't care for that. I like chaos that is almost entitled chaos, if that makes any sense. Like, there's not really anything absolutely terrible about it. That will drastically hurt people's lives, but it's enough chaos that it will cause a stir, whether it's anger or excitement or just it's chaos. It's chaos. It's really, it's all I can describe it. So that is what our focus is going to be on this prediction episode, this very special prediction episode. So let's go into the current top 10 teams in college football according to the College Football Playoff Committee. So this is your top 10. Top row is 1 to 5. Bottom row is 6 to 10. And when this was revealed, some notes. I mean, I'm going to try to not baby talk any of this, but I do want to at least explain for anyone that's not really too familiar with college football. Essentially, these teams are these are teams that are best in the country, and the majority of them are playing in the championship games. Now, the top 4 you can see on top is Alabama Crimson Tide, Ohio State Buckeyes, Clemson Tigers, and the Washington Huskies, yes. I want to make sure that I get that right. So the big debate has been Ohio State, at least as of lately, because Ohio State is definitely one of the best, if not the best team right now in college football. Some will argue that's the case. Some will still say Alabama is. Who cares? Whatever it is, Ohio State is ranked number 2. However, they are not participating in their conference championship. The conference that they're in, the Big Ten, their conference championship will be decided between Wisconsin and Penn State. Those 2 teams are the 6th and 7th ranked teams in the country. But Ohio State and fellow Big Ten rival Michigan are both ranked ahead of them based off of strength of schedule. The fact that both Michigan and Ohio State had a hand in beating these teams, except for Penn State. Penn State beat Ohio State. It is Ohio State's only loss on the season, and that is why they are not in the conference championship. So that's, that's huge, right? Because now, instead of competing for a conference championship and having that under your belt while going to the national championship, now Ohio State doesn't have that leverage. What it does have, though, is a strong schedule, including Saturday when they played against Michigan. At the time, Ohio State was ranked number 2 and Michigan was ranked number 3. So it went into double overtime. Both teams played great, and ultimately Ohio State pulled out the victory. It was an incredible game. It was so much fun to watch. So the problem is that a lot of people feel like that conference championships should weigh heavily, and I kind of agree with that. I understand that if you can't win your conference championship, what makes you think that you can win a national championship? But it is kind of then marking Ohio State as, they are not allowed to make the playoff after losing to only one team. It's just that conference was really good. It was there. That conference, 4 of these teams on this top 10 were all in the Big Ten, and that's huge for the conference. So I understand where people are coming from. It depends on what the committee ultimately decides, because while they've weighed conference championship huge, in fact, not a single non-conference champion has actually made the playoff thus far in this new system. If you don't know, the system only started in 2014, but still, it'd be a different tone if Ohio State made it and it not being a conference champion. So we'll see how the committee weighs it, because for all we know, Ohio State could just be yanked out of it after this weekend when we have 4 champions that they're willing to put in there over a team that does not have a conference championship. I doubt that's going to happen. I would be shocked if it did happen now. At first, that's what my logic was. I was like, okay, maybe that's what they'll weigh is the conference championship. But now it looks like they're more focused on who are the best teams right now. And Ohio State is absolutely deserving to be in that conversation. So what you have now this weekend is Alabama is in the SEC championship going up against Florida. Clemson in the ACC championship, they're taking on Virginia Tech, and Washington is taking on Colorado in the Pac-12 championship. Colorado ranked number 8, just under Clemson on the screen. So that's what the situation is for the top 4. If Clemson wins their game and Washington wins their game, Alabama is undefeated right now, so I doubt that they'll move from the top 4, even if they do lose to Florida. I think that this is what the top 4 is going to end up being if everything goes to plan. But as I stated earlier, I love chaos. So let's look at what chaos would look like. So here are your 9 conference championship games. You have the Power 5 on all the Power 5 championships, quote unquote, for Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. They're playing a regular season game, but they're the 2 best teams in the conference, and whoever wins would be considered the Big 12 winner. They don't have a championship game, not until next year. So Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, they're playing a de facto championship game. Everyone else is playing an actual championship game. So like I said earlier, Penn State, Wisconsin, Florida, Alabama, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Washington, Colorado. On the right is Group of 5, and this will weigh in the terms of the New Year 6, because the way it works is that you have the Power 5 conferences, and those are the main focus of college football in general.
But there's also a group of 5 conferences, which includes the American Conference, Conference USA, the Mid-American Conference, or the MAC, as we like to call them, the Mountain West Conference, and the Sun Belt Conference. And whoever is like the best conference champion, they have to win the conference. They get involved in the New Year's Six, which is the 6 like best bowl games of the year, essentially. 2 of them being playoffs, 4 just having really big teams a part of them. So one group of 5 team that wins their championship will be a part of that team. So it depends on who ends up winning that. Right now, the Western Michigan Broncos, who you see in the top right, they are part of the MAC, and they are the only undefeated team in the group of 5, and only the one of 2 teams, including Alabama, that are still undefeated in the bowl, FBS, which I actually do not know what FBS stands for. I think it's the Football Bowl Subdivision or something like that. Could be wrong. Not an expert on this shit. But Western Michigan Broncos, they're undefeated, and they're considered the favorites to make the New Year's Six. What could happen is if the Broncos lose and Navy wins, Navy could be in consideration, especially if Navy wins not only this game, but next week, the annual Navy-Army game. If they win that game, that could get them in. But I still think that the team with the best record, which is the Western Michigan Broncos, they deserve all the credit, and they have a great program, and with head coach PJ Fleck has really just reshaped that entire program, and I watched their game against Toledo last week, and it was they were such a fun team to watch. So I'm rooting for them to make it to the New Year's Six, but we'll see what happens. So what does chaos have in store for us? To me, what chaos is essentially the underdog in the games win over the superdog. So, or, well, not superdog, but you know what I mean. The team that is the most favored to win that game. So what would happen in every single game that is played on Friday and Saturday for college football, that the underdog beats the favorite? What would happen to the college football playoff scenario? Well, let's go through it. So for this to work out, Wisconsin has to lose to Penn State. Florida delivers Alabama their first loss. Clemson loses to Virginia Tech. Washington loses to Colorado. Oops, wrong. Oh God, blocking out the wrong team. And then Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma. And then poor Western Michigan, I hate to do this to them, but they lose to Ohio. Navy, however, loses to Temple in the AAC championship game. In this Conference USA, Western Kentucky is considered the favorite, so Louisiana Tech would win that one. And in the Mountain West, San Diego State would take on Wyoming. This is the conference that the Boise State Broncos, my favorite team, is a part of, and Wyoming, they ridded us of getting a shot at the Mountain West Conference. Them and Air Force, so goddamn it, Wyoming. But they will get the win over San Diego State, who is considered the favorite there. So here are your conference champions. Of course, we're kind of leaving Sun Belt out of it. They're just not really relevant, I guess, in this scenario. But this is what would happen if chaos struck college football and all these teams came out as winners. So what would the college football playoff do? And that is what I'm predicting today. What would happen if all these teams lost? What would how would college football, how the committee would read it? This is not how I see myself ranking it, because I think I would have a very different perspective to what the committee, but based on how the committee has ranked these teams, this is how I think the top 10 will unfold. So we're going to start from the bottom, we'll work our way up. Florida would be number 10. They were originally number 15, and a huge win over undefeated Alabama, or formerly undefeated Alabama in this circumstance, should move them up to the top 10, and put them in that conversation. They are the SEC champions, so so that would put them maybe in the conversation for the college football playoff, but it's not going to happen. They have 3 losses. It's not going to work out for them. Next, you have Wisconsin, who lost to Penn State in this scenario. Wisconsin, would also be their 3rd loss of the season. However, Wisconsin's loss was to Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State, all the 3 teams that are in front of them. So they dismantled the rest of the field, but just not the teams that are ahead of them. Wisconsin is unfortunately down to number 9. Oklahoma State would be next, and I know that this is only a slight push up, considering that they're an underdog in this game, and Oklahoma, they beat Oklahoma, but at the same time, it's hard for me to move up this team. I would move them up further in my own personal top 10, because I do think that this is a team that deserves to be credited with only 1 loss of the season, not 2. After a faulty call during this game against Central Michigan near the end, or at the end, essentially, they got a loss for almost no reason. So it's unfortunate for them, but I don't know if it should necessarily be counted against them either. But I don't know. Again, we'll see what happens. But number 8 seems to where I think the committee would still rank them, despite them being the Big 12 champions. Next up would be Washington. Washington now has 2 losses, one against USC, who's right behind, right there with Oklahoma, and I would say in this prediction ranking, they would be at number 12, number 11, or number 11. I think, because right now they're ranked at number 11 on the top 25. So who knows? But Washington ranked lower, unfortunately, but not low enough to keep them out of potential college football playoff consideration. But I doubt that they would get in if they lost, especially if they lost the Pac-12. No way. Clemson would be number 6. Number 6. And to me, the only reason why I have them here is because their big wins are not as great as some that are ahead, of all the teams that are ahead of them, and their losses are far too substantial to really. It's just gonna weigh them down, and they don't have an ACC championship in this scenario, so that's why I have Clemson at number 6. Now we're gonna work our way from the top. We're gonna start with number 1, Ohio State. Again, this is a team that is 11-1, only has 1 loss. Did not play in their conference champions, are not conference champions at all, but should be considered the best team in the league, considering that they have only 1 loss and they have one of the best resumes in the country. Next up is Alabama. They only have 1 loss as well, and they have been just playing amazing football. Their resume just does not match with Ohio State, but they're still a very good football team. And considering where Ohio State lost to, or who Ohio State lost to compared to who Alabama lost to, it's just that's how I would see the committee ranking it. Next would be Michigan. Because the way that I see it, even if just one, Washington or Clemson, loses, it feels like Michigan would jump into the top 4, considering the fact that they are one of the best teams in the country. This, I am kind of hoping happens. Because I do think Michigan does deserve a little bit of credit for what they accomplished this season. Not just a New Year's Six bowl game. They need a playoff. I think they deserve to be in the playoffs. And in this scenario, again, with the way that the committee has ranked these teams, I think that Michigan not only jumps up to number 4, but if both Clemson and Washington lose, it can easily be number 3. And now, number 4. This was tough for me. This is between Penn State and Colorado. You have the Big Ten champion against the Pac-12 champion. You have to weigh who Penn State has beaten and who Colorado has beaten. Now, ironically enough, the two teams that Colorado lost to and the two teams that Penn State lost to, Colorado lost to Michigan, and so did Penn State. And then Colorado lost to USC and Penn State lost to Pittsburgh. So these teams are all in the top 25, in the Tuesday's top 25. So, who deserves more credit for their wins, and who deserves not as much slack for their losses? I think overall, Penn State has the better wins, but Colorado lost to two really good teams. But I am going to go with Penn State at number 4 and Colorado at number 5, which means that if chaos happened, 3 Big Ten teams would make the playoff, which probably will piss some people off. So I'm hoping that the committee does put Colorado in over Penn State, but it would also be kind of fucked up at the same time if they had Ohio State and Michigan, non-conference champions, in there, and then the conference champion just on the outside of the playoffs. So I don't know. There's a lot of debate, but this is how I predict the committee will do it. Who knows what they would actually do in this scenario, but this is just what I'm putting out there. So this is what your New Year's 6 looks like. It's going to be a bit weird, so just bear with me. So Ohio State and Penn State will play in the Peach Bowl in the Georgia Dome. Alabama and Michigan will play in Arizona for the Fiesta Bowl. Those are your playoff bowl games. And then in the Rose Bowl, you have the only remaining Big Ten team that's very highly ranked in Wisconsin against the Pac-12 champion Colorado. Sugar Bowl, you have the SEC champion in Florida and the Big 12 champion of Oklahoma State University. In the Orange Bowl, you have the ACC champion Virginia Tech going up against Auburn, which is the highest ranked of the SEC and Big 10 teams. Auburn is the highest ranked. Again, that's in how they've ranked them. You have USC on the outside. We have Oklahoma on the outside of the Big Ten. And after those guys, you have Florida State and Louisville, who are part of the ACC, but I don't think that they're going to put two in the same conference in that bowl game. If they do, I could see Clemson moving in to that spot in the Orange Bowl to have a rematch, but I doubt that. I think they want two different conferences, so it's going to be Virginia Tech and Auburn. And then the Cotton Bowl, the highest group at large team, which is Clemson, going up against your group of 5 champion, the best champion, and that would be Temple. Temple has the best resume compared to all the other conference champions. So, this is, again, hypothetical. Do you think you would prefer this lineup? If all chaos broke loose, and this is what you have to look forward to on New Year's Day? I mean, what do you think? Washington gets completely left out in this scenario. I was kind of surprised after I did it. I was like, wait, that sucks. Washington, if they lose, there's not really room for them to jump in, because even if Clemson loses, they basically take the Cotton Bowl away from Washington to be able to jump in there. So it's a bummer for them. But yeah, that's what right now the scenario is. And I don't know. I really
would love the chaos, but at the same time, when I look at what the projected field is for these games, there is some very intriguing bowl games. A little, I think, more intriguing than what this layout would be. So, just verbally, the Peach Bowl right now, if everything goes to plan, would be Ohio State at number 2 and Clemson at number 3 taking on each other. That's a fantastic game. Alabama would take on Washington. There you go. Alabama would take on Washington in the Fiesta Bowl. Again, another great game. Although Alabama and Michigan would be very fun to watch. And I forgot to say this too. Ohio State against Penn State in the Peach Bowl. There is two storylines right there. Penn State, this underdog, if they beat Ohio State twice and make it to the conference championship, holy crap, that would be amazing for that program, especially everything that they've been through. In Ohio State, if they win, that's revenge against Penn State, and then they take on either Alabama or they face Michigan again, and that would be an amazing layout. But the other 4 would be pretty interesting as well. The Rose Bowl, I think, would remain the same. Wisconsin would be the highest ranking Big Ten team because of the fact that they would win the Big Ten, apparently, against Penn State. And then Colorado would be the highest ranking Pac-12 team since Washington is in the playoff. And the Sugar Bowl, then that's when you would have Auburn. I think Auburn right now is ranked higher than Florida, and if Florida loses to Alabama, which is what's easily expected, then that's what's going to happen. It'll be Auburn against Oklahoma, who is the projected Big 12 champion. In the Orange Bowl, the highest ranking ACC team, according to their new CFP committee rankings, was Florida State. I don't get it. Florida State has the same record as Louisville. And Florida State's number 12 and Louisville's number 13. Louisville beat that team like 42-14 or something like that. And I don't get why Louisville doesn't get more credit. Probably because they've been slumping at the end of the season, that they've been kind of playing kind of poorly. But I hope that the committee changes their mind and Louisville does jump Florida State to play in the Orange Bowl. And they will be taking on Michigan, which would be the Group of 5 team, which is also an amazing matchup. I think wherever Michigan goes, I think that it will be good to watch. And Cotton Bowl would be Penn State, I think, would be the remaining group of the group at large teams, and you would have Western Michigan as their opponent in the Cotton Bowl. So there you go. I think I covered everything there. One last thing. If we wanted to continue with the chaos scenarios, there are some Sun Belt games and Big 12 games, as I mentioned before, that are being played. 2 of the Sun Belt games, one's Louisiana Lafayette against Louisiana Monroe, and another is South Alabama, and I believe they're going up against Georgia State. If Lafayette and South Alabama both win their games, they'll be the last 2 remaining teams to become bowl eligible for all the other bowl games that would be happening in December. But if one of them loses, just one of them, guess who becomes bowl eligible? The Texas Longhorns, the team that was basically melting down towards the end of the season, just fired their head coach. Got a pretty interesting head coach. They just hired a new head coach, and he's from Houston, and he's been playing, he's been considered one of the biggest, hottest head coaching candidates in college football. So I mean, I guess that's good news. But still, this team's a hot mess, and they're going to end up playing in a bowl game if one of those teams loses. My God. And if in case anyone's curious, if both teams lose, the next team up would be Northern Illinois. And that's your college football playoff predictions. Let me know what you think. What do you think is going to happen? What I think is honestly going to happen is everything should go to plan. Should. But
I try to set a low bar for myself, so that way, if there is chaos, I can just have this high like I've never had before. Like it's so much more enjoyable that way. Um, but let me know in the comments below what you guys think is going to happen with the college football season going forward, or the end really. What you guys, who you think the Final Four is going to be, what you think would happen if all chaos broke loose. So I know that some people, if there's enough chaos, think that, you know, if there's so much chaos, like a suffocating amount of chaos, that the top four might just remain the same. Doubt that's gonna happen with with one last set of games this weekend. I think that, you know, things could turn on its head, big time with every single with like all the upsets. So we'll see what happens. But let me know. I always love talking college football. I love hearing everything. And again, a lot of this was just what I think the college, the CFP committee thinks. Again, I would probably rank things differently, but I don't know. The committee kind of does what it wants, and we all just have to accept it, or not watch the sport. So it's unfortunate, but whatever. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Be good to one another. Bye-bye.